วัสดีค่ะ Good morning Guten Morgen So His Excellency, ladies and gentlemen, distinguished guests, very good morning to you all, and this is the Orange Green Day. We are gathering here today to engage in a crucial dialogue with today's topic, Bike the Talk, Making Bangkok Bikeable. I am honored to be your moderator today. My name is Mai Thanyamai Ananta Koraniwat. As many of you might have come to this place last year, either to join cycling with Ajahn Chachat or to listen to the Bike the Talk last round, the first batch last year, or anyone who came to join the movie night outside the documentary about the revival of Dutch cycling culture. May I see your hands who have joined? Wow, all the front row seat. You can get one free coffee out there. Okay. Thank you very much, okay, for coming. Better news is, I'm very glad that we have a chance to continue our concrete work from last year. So the event today will serve as a transformative platform to foster collaboration and exchange between experts from Thailand and the Netherlands. In particular, over the last 3 days, the Dutch Cycling Embassy and the expert have already had an intensive workshop with the BMA officers. So we are looking forward to hearing some insights today. And before we begin, here are some notes about today's event. So our session will be conducted in English the whole morning and is being live on Facebook page of the embassy and also the Facebook page of Bike in the City. So we would like to invite those who are not comfortable of being in any recording or photograph. Please feel free to tell the staff and we will remove those accordingly. So to officially welcome you to this thought-provoking event, it is my pleasure to invite to the stage for the welcome remarks His Excellency Mr. Remco van Wijngaarden, Ambassador of the Kingdom of the Netherlands in Thailand.
Good morning, Sawadee Kap, and Goedemorgen. Warm welcome to all of you here at the Dutch residence. Very good to see you all, see biking friends, biking allies, and welcome to our second Bike the Talk workshop we have here at the residence. But it's not our second event. We had a full 3 days of work, actually, not event, but serious work at BMA by our colleagues from the Dutch Cycling Embassy, who are sitting here in front of me. 4 colleagues from the Netherlands came, and a big participation from BMA. I think there was up to 60, 70, 80 people from BMA working on several areas in Bangkok and to see how BMA can improve the biking infrastructure, the biking culture, the biking software, hardware, hardware, to improve biking in Bangkok. And this is not something that is new for the Netherlands, as most of you know. We are a country that cycles a lot, and but what most people don't know is that we were not born as a country that cycles a lot. It takes work, and our work started in the 70s when Dutch people got tired of cars in their cities and got tired of feeling unsafe on the bicycles, and we call it the cycling revolution. But our colleagues from the Dutch Cycling Embassy can tell you more about that. And we keep on promoting bicycles and cycling and biking in the world because it's healthy, because if you do it well, it's also safe. Cyclists sometimes are at risk, but a person on a bicycle has never presented a hazard to anybody else in traffic, if I might say so. It's sustainable, it's good for the environment, and in my country it's also faster. If you take your bike in Amsterdam, you're much faster than if you go by car or if you walk, sometimes also faster than public transport. So it's a logical choice for us now in the Netherlands, and we really wish that we can support BMA in making biking a logical choice also for the people who live in this wonderful city. And some people say Bangkok is not fit for cycling, but I generally believe it is. It's a flat city, and the temperature should not be a challenge. In Europe, we have wind, we have freezing temperature, we have snow, and we have hot days as well, but everybody keeps on cycling anyway. So I would like to welcome you all again and wish you a very nice and interesting and successful event today. And let's work together on making Bangkok bikeable. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, His Excellency. And we would like to have a group photo. Can we have a group photo first out there at the terrace? So could you please join us the group photo? But everyone, as I mentioned, you can have the free coffee over there. So the croissant and coffee for you. But a group photo for us, may I invite His Excellency and Kun Sanon, the Deputy Governor, and also our speaker out here. Let's move to outside the terrace. Just a short group photo. Because it's... Ah, really? Okay. Yeah, let's go. Everyone. We can join in a photo. Everyone. Because the ambassador invited, so I think it's a good chance that we will enjoy the breeze out there. Today is pretty nice weather. Actually, yes, everyone can join because the photo will come on this way at the balcony. And we already have steps, so everyone can show your face. Okay, you can take your mask off, actually. Any video? Okay. Okay, ค่ะ Thank you for a quick photo because the weather is nice outside before it's getting too hot. And now we are back. Take your time, it's okay.
Lots of bikes.
เชิญกลับมานะคะเดี๋ยวเราอาจจะได้ยินคำว่า DCE แบบ I try to explain the word in English when you mention they will understand what it is in Thai right so DCE ก็คือ Dutch Cycling Embassy บางทีอาจจะพูดเป็นตัวย่อนะคะ Dutch Cycling Embassy แล้วก็อีกคำหนึ่งเพราะว่าน่าจะเป็นเอาพุทที่ดีเลยที่เวิร์กช็อปเขาได้ทำกันมาก็คือเรื่องของ slip lanes มีใครรู้จัก slip lane ไหม slip lane SLIP and then lanes ค่ะ slip lanes ก็คือเลนเลี้ยวซ้ายผ่านตลอดก็คือรถที่ไม่ต้องมาติดไฟแดงก็คือแบบรึบ slip ไปเลยอย่างเงี้ยค่ะแต่ว่ามันมีผลต่อการวางแผนให้จักรยานเดินทางมากเดี๋ยวเราจะมาดูกันว่าเราจะทำอะไรกับเลนเลี้ยวซ้ายผ่านตลอดจริงๆมันจำเป็นไหมก็เลย for your information เนาะ slip lanes ก็คือคำนี้ทุกคนจะได้เข้าใจกันนะคะเพราะตอนแรกก็ไม่รู้เหมือนกันว่าภาษาอังกฤษคืออะไร Okay, we are back. Thank you very much because very nice weather this morning. Can you believe it? It's under 30 degrees. Wow. Yeah, that's special for this time of the year. And it can go up to 40 degrees soon. So good luck everyone. I hope you're not too tired to bike every morning. Who got tired of the traffic jam in Bangkok? Oh, right. And who cycled this morning? Wow. You can have extra croissant out there for you. Thank you. Right, because we want to have a bikeable city, right? So to set the scene and underline the importance of bikeable city with the ultimate goal of tangible improvements in Bangkok's biking infrastructure. Now let's learn about the BMA action plan on non-motorized transportation from the Deputy Governor of Bangkok. So please join me in welcoming Mr. Sanon Wangsangboon.
Okay. Good morning, everyone, Ambassador and distinguished guests and everyone. So first, before I coming to the slide, I would like to tell about a little bit background about myself and why I'm so excited to be here today. If you back 13 or 12 years ago, I think I met some friends here and Pee and Pipe and many people like 12, 13 years ago, and they're already in bike, and I'm like curious why they keep cycling in Bangkok. It's very hard, right? Like Brett said that you need to be a Batman or Superman here, but yeah, there's someone there, and there's one policy that moment of time like you get the incentive, 100,000 baht discount for your first car. If you buy a first car, you get incentive on that. So I'm really against that policy at that moment of time. And then I put my money instead of car, buying a bike. And I took 1 year, no car, used bicycle 1 year. And I give up after 1 year. But anyhow, I still keep biking after that until right now. So after got a job in the BMA after Governor Chachat last 1 year and a half, and I very passionate on this one, and I asked him that can I help on bike policy. So we come up with some policy at that moment of time, and I think we want to increase some policy to affect the reality more and more with your help on the embassy help and a lot of professor and the one who very keen on this help. So we got more and more concrete policy. So if you ask every politician, they always talk about walk and bike, but in coming into the intangible policy and intangible change is very hard because some is not the popular policy. It's very unpopular policy to change it. Even yesterday we talked about roundabout, we talked about the intersection, especially Asok intersection to change. So it's not a popular policy anymore. But anyway, we little by little we will change it. So I would like to talk about what the intangible policy that we are committed and want to change in this time ผมจะเอาคลิกเกอร์ดีกว่านะครับ okay. Actually I told the team that I talked already on Tuesday but I would like to highlight again today so this is a previous project that Bangkok had been doing so this thing is not new it's previously we have some project about bicycle in Bangkok but what happened you can see there's when you have a dedicated bike lane too big the car is there so they park the car on the bike lane so in Panakorn we have the second photo you can see when it's like a previous bike lane and when they fix the street the road so they put the asphalt on behalf of the bike lane or the parking obstruction on the Krong San that there are a lot of motorbike and they end up like parking on the bike lane or at Chatuchak if you see there are dedicated bike lane between the Suan Chatuchak and Suan Rot Phai Park but there are a lot of street vendor so not only motorbike car but also street vendor took the bike lane as well and at Bangkok Noi there's a parking obstacle as well at the Krong San we just finished I think last week the civil department fixed the street and then they paint the red bike lane because previously they have a bike lane so we didn't talk to each other we have a traffic transportation department and we have a civil department so civil department just do what previously do so we end up seeing it a bike lane with the car and last one the Krong San one I think last year we have a promotion on the bike on September and I think with a good view of the district officer when they know that the governor will come on that day so they come to repaint the color of the bike lane but it's not function anymore because there's all car parking on that bike lane at the past so I think previous project we have some effort but still have a lot of things to learn from and to develop from this one sorry and I think the problem is I think we not think about network we think about just one lane and then we design the bike lane so I think that's one thing second thing is like we create for tourism purpose not for the commuter purpose so if we see that we need to ask the people the local people where they commute and I think it will help on the cycling infrastructure better than the tourism purpose and I think the last one is very hard it's like we lacking on the enforcement maybe from the police as well and city police as well need to together need to have an enforcement on the people who come on the bike lane so current project what we are going to do this will be a little bit so we will keep doing some dedicated bike lane in some area and I think we have a very inspiration from Dutch and from many city for example this one we have a clean painting like this or secondly about the share sign to have bike and car sharing because some street if we took bike lane there's gonna be a lot of people against bike lane as well so if we start with share that bike can be on some street some road and we keep sharing with the cars and the last one is like not only share but we also have some signage that where you can go or share alley in maybe in Kyoto that where you will go on the small alley something like that so I will explain a little bit on next slide so this is a policy when I come to when Governor Chachat come we have 4 policy at the black one and we add more 3 right now so I will talk one by one the first one is the policy we have 200 policy if you recognize so this is the number of the policy policy 027 we want to connect the transit node, safe, convenient walkway and bicycle path in every street. This is about the connecting of the transit node. 028 is about safe walk and bicycle canal walkway. It's a canal that Sansab or many canal we have. Number 105 is about the bicycle parking, which is like we experiment a new bicycle parking there. 207 is about district connecting network. It's a bicycle corridor actually. So the big corridor we have in Liep Duan, Padit Manuntham, that is a corridor, and we want to expand more corridor. And what we change is, what we add more is 227, bike sharing at the first mile, last mile as mobility choice. As the Deputy Governor Visanu mentioned yesterday about bike sharing, and I think we have AnyView company here as well. So we put more company on the bike sharing and experiment. I think we did it very well on the Chulalongkorn, that the university student can use that, and we want to expand it in the old town and the CBD. So right now we put more policy on bike sharing, and 228 is about reducing bicycle barrier on river bridge and, with the assisting slope, rail and shortcut. So this one is from when we go on the many canal, they will always have like a very high slope bridge, and we think to put this policy will enforce the department that take care about the bridge to be like put more slope on that. The last one is about they're gonna need to talk a lot as well, because we want to access to the park. In Bangkok we have a many big park and small park, and if the bicycle do not need to go to the big street, but use park as the way to go before going to the big street. So we will reviewing the park regulation for bicycle access right now, because right now they have time, right? After 3 p.m. you cannot go in the park, blah blah blah. So this one is what we adding. So coming the policy theme, we from these 7 policy, we split into three themes. So first theme is about when you want to connect district by district, is a district connector network. The second one, I think mainly we talk about this a lot previously, is about in the neighborhood, in the district, how we can have a safe and walk-byable neighborhood. And the last one is like a facility like parking or signage or something. So I put into 3 themes and divide the policy into these themes. So I talk one by one. So the first one is about district connector network. We have, if you see, we have a very big and long canal, Sansab, and I think it's almost there, but a little detail that we need to fix. So right now we I think we can divide into 4 sections. Section 1 is on Panfa from the Panakon district into the expressway, and section 2 is the expressway into Khong Tan Watergate, and section 3 is Khong Tan to Minburi, and section 4 Minburi to Nong Jok. So these 4 sections we talk with the department that taking care of this, and we're gonna have investment on this one to fix the bridge, and and to extend the canal, the walk and bicycle path from this section, so you can bike from Panfa to Nong Jok. That is what we want to do in the future. Padung Pung Kasem, I think we go there very often and want to have this one to connect, because if you see the map, it's connect Chao Phraya to Chao Phraya, but from north to south, which with the canal, that very important canal is Padung Pung Kasem. It's a canal that split Old Town and the CBD. So it's a connector between Old Town CBD and connector between Chao Phraya North and Chao Phraya South. So if we have this corridor, we're gonna link many districts together. I think we have 5 districts part this canal, so it's a very important one. So what we have done is I think we have 2 tunnel that we can connect now, but we need to put more. So I think we're gonna end up like have 4 underpass tunnel to link the corridor and 1 canal bridge cross the Sansab one. We cannot put under the Sansab. So we have a canal. And the last one, the crosswalk on Satien, the crosswalk to the south, we cannot have a tunnel as well. So to summarize, we can go from the north, Chao Phraya, to the south by walk and bike without, going into the intersection to wait in the intersection. This one is another link. It's a link. It's a link between Lumpini and Benjakitti. Yeah, it's very near here. In theory, it's very good when we have a clean link, but but if you go there, it's very hard because you need to do like this. So what we got the budget right now to make a new slope for the bicycle and also the wheelchair as well. So the standard is 1:12, right? So we need to put that standard into the green link, the clean bridge. Right now we're finding, I think we got budget already. So right now it's on the way. Yeah. Another one is Pradit Manuntham corridor. And I think the big problem is we have a lot of highway, it's a big road intersect the corridor. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna have a crosswalk, 3 major crosswalk, 2 pedestrian bridge. I think this one is on the discussion that do we need a bridge or we need to change the crosswalk. And I think the group yesterday they kept group Lad Plow 71. They proposed the skywalk. So we need to think about also what we want to do on this one as well. So right now what we are proposing is 3 crosswalk and 2 pedestrian bridge and a bicycle bridge in the Lad Plow and Lam Intras, but not yet in the budget. So we need to finalize soon which one we want to do. This one is a river promenade, and I think we already finished on the Thonburi North. So it's on Chao Phraya River, and this one is finished, but we want to expand into the north from Kalayanamit to, if you know, Arun Temple, Wat Arun. So we want to connect from Wat Kalaya to Wat Arun, which is a little bit. And if we can connect that, I believe that people will change the mode from cars to Wat Arun to be bike, walk, because if you can walk very present on this river promenade. And also to the south as well, from Sapan Put, go down to the Sapan Taksin, which is very far, past Khong San. But this one is on the we still have assistant to check because a lot of private sector is not like this. This one is public sector. It's very easy to talk. But if we pass a lot of private sector, you need to talk with them. Yeah. This one. This one is river crossing. I think we already have one in Pakong Talat, Chao Phraya Bridge, Chao Phraya River Bridge. And we want to add more, and we think about the one that on the Songwat to the Krong San district, Thanon Chiang Mai, which is now on the public hearing, I think, to check. People think about that. So we will not do the the crossing for car anymore, but we think about the pedestrian and the bicycle river crossing more and more. So I think we summarize soon in this quarter, and we will put a budget on that. Yeah. And corridor, more corridor. from the citizen proposed. I think it's from our alliance proposed on the west side as well that we want to put more. For example, the ประชาชื่นหมอชิด because we already have a คลองประปา like very long way, you know. So we have another corridor, and from คลองประปา Rama 6 road until Urupong to connect the Sansab. So we want to connect from north to Sansab because otherwise Sansab will be very independent, right? We need to link Sansab into the north. This one is proposed from the citizen. We will go to check again. And from the west, there are actually a lot of potential on Phang Thon, like Taling Chan Station, พุทธมณฑลสาย 4, บางหว่า ภาษีเจริญ a lot of like very long canal, ภาษีเจริญ and จรัญสนิทวงศ์ ราชบุรณะ so a lot of detail we need to finish, like how many corridor we want to add, and in the central รัฐสาธร อุรุพงศ์ intersection, and on the south as well. Yeah, the first one is like district connector. So I think it's huge investment need to be there. But this one I really keen on and want to improve on neighborhood first. On neighborhood, I think right now we have a policy on 0 to 7, right? The one I mentioning. But we have a nickname on that. It's a Bangkok Trail. It's still trail right now. So we put trail first, but it will change in the future. So two neighborhood that we go, and we think there are a lot of potential is Bang Rak and Wat Thana. Because Wat Thana, I think we have a lot of expat, a lot of people who keen on bike already, but we don't have infrastructure. And Bang Rak, actually they are connect to the old town, and they have a small alley a lot to, you know, can be the directness of the bicycle in the future. So I think these two districts will be the first two districts that we want to put there. Another 4 districts that we are on the workshop this week, and we want to highlight it as a neighborhood that we can walk and bike more, which is on Sam Yod Station, ตลาดพลู ท่าพระ Station, พร้อมพงษ์ Station, and ลาดพร้าว 71 Station. So these 4 districts will be another strategic neighborhood that we want to change. Yeah. So this one, not only these 4, but actually on every district right now they have a KPI. Yeah, in government we need KPI. We put KPI on 10 kilometers of bicycle infrastructure for them, but we're gonna review again. We have 50 districts, so they're gonna end up with the plan. And I think we need your suggestion and we need your input. So what need to be changed? So yesterday I go to Chom Thong district, and they can find only 3 kilometers bicycle lane or bicycle trail, Bangkok bicycle trail. So they need another 7 kilo to find. And when we go down to the market and talk with the local people suggest a lot. So right now they have more than 10 kilometers in their hands, so they need to find. So I think the gap is to talk with the people. So district need to come back to talk with the people. So last one about facility and directory that we want to put the new one in. So I think we have a new signage. The parking will be blue for the bicycle parking, and bicycle lane, pedestrian lane, share row, we put share ใช้ร่วม Thai word for sharing, and share lane for pedestrian and bicycle share. So this one will be the new signage that we put on street. Not only the signage on the street, but the signage, the guiding system as well. So we put new guiding where they can go. Sometimes they know only the main street, but they don't know the alley. Like Pipe always go in the small alley. So if everyone can know that small alley can bring you there as well. So we put a signage on the small alley that this you can bike there to Param Si, you can bike there to Cheren Kung, can bike there to whatever. So I think we will start with this in every neighborhood here, and we add more and more biker in the street. Bicycle parking. Previously, we have parking that you can lock only wheel, and you come back and the frame gone. Right. So right now we will lock frame and the wheel gone. So now we have the frame that can lock wheel and frame together on, and we pilot on the Bangkok Design Week to check. But lastly, I saw the video that the thief like carry the whole rack, you know, so they can still do something. Yeah. So we improved the bike parking. Yeah. And this one, the bike sharing, very exciting project from the companies that help. So right now I think we have 3 companies put the bicycle sharing, and they put 1 hour, right? One hour free for every day. So you've got first 1 hour free. Yeah. So there's an incentive to get more, people to bike in the street. And the park access is another thing. So this one sound easy, but actually it's not that easy. You need to talk with the runners. You need to talk with the nature conservation that they didn't love any runner and biker. So we have 3 people that they need to finalize together. Yeah. Okay, so that is what the BMA commit, and we would like to invite. Lastly, I would like to talk about yesterday. I talked with Deputy Visanu and Governor Chachat as well. That we would like to invite everyone to help, and we will have some unit under maybe transport department that not only the association from the volunteer as well, but let's come to work together with the BMA. We will have a new unit for bicycle, and every district need to talk with this unit. So I will share to you soon that with this unit how it's gonna be, but we invite everyone to help and make Bangkok viable. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Wow. Thank you for the updates. Thank you for the hopeful policy. And I think most of the pictures on the screen, our expert team have already experienced that. On the very first day you land in Bangkok, right? And we took the expert to bike together. I have a chance to join them, so they have experienced the Asok Junction at the rush hour. That's how I learned how complex our traffic system is. We have been to Extended Canal. We haven't been to inside the park because of the limited time that we've been there, right? Yeah, so we will hear more about the result of the workshop 3 days ago. But before that, let's move on to the policy of the Netherlands. We would love to hear how the Netherlands work around this issue. So now I would like to introduce our next keynote speaker on the topic of introduction of Alliance for Cycling and Walking towards International Vitality and Empowerment, or ACTIVE program. Today we are honored to have Mr. Choon Seekers, International Policy Officer of the Netherlands Ministry of Infrastructure and Water Management, who will share some information about this initiative. So the floor is yours, Mr. Choon.
Thank you. Let me quickly check whether I uploaded the right slides. Can I make one adjustment in the slides? Because I had some slides that I need to show.
Who have been to Amsterdam? No, you live there. No? I used to live there. Anybody? Did you cycle? With your own bicycle? Not yet. Okay, few of us. I think less than 10, right? Okay.
Thanks. Well, let's start over. My name is Teun Zegers, and as you can see, I'm the International Policy Officer on Active Mobility. And active mobility is both cycling and walking, but in the Netherlands we're of course more well known for cycling. And that's what I'm going to talk about today, about our policy on cycling. And I think there's one key message that I want to convey here today, and that is that cycling in the Netherlands is well known, and it's not because of the Netherlands is flat, it's not because of the climate in the Netherlands, but as the ambassador this morning has already introduced, it's because of hard work, and it's because of decades of dedicated policy to encourage and to stimulate cycling. And to give a highlight of that, in the Netherlands the model split of cycling is over 25%, which means that of each trip that we do, of all the trips that we undertake in the Netherlands, more than 25% of the trips are undertaken by bike. And another unique feature of cycling in the Netherlands is that there are more bikes than that we have people, because I think there's over 23 million bikes in the Netherlands and there's 18 million people. I myself have 4 bikes, which is a bit too much, but just as a means of introduction. And here you can see, as a bit of background of myself, I have 2 pictures. This here, that's me, and I wanted to upload this picture because for me cycling is more than a mode of transport, it's also my way of working out. And in the background you can see some mountains, because cycling is not only for countries that are flat, but also when it's elevated you can still go on your bike. On the right, you might not recognize me, but that's me back when I still had hair. It's 12 years ago. So this, and it's a tourism tour, as Sanon already mentioned. Cycling in Bangkok is already known under tourists. And for me it was a nice way to explore the highlights of Bangkok, from the Grand Palace to the small alleyways and to the street vendors. I got a chance to see Bangkok by bike. But now you know a bit about me, let me quickly also know something about you. So maybe by a show of hands, who of you cycles regularly? And now maybe look around you and see how happy all those people are with their hands up. And I think you already did it this morning as well, a quick show of hands of who cycled here today, because I was in the front, I couldn't see it. Okay, quite so much. Applause. And then over to the quick agenda for today. So I'm going to talk about why we focus on cycling in the Netherlands, what do we do and what are our ambitions, and how do we achieve those ambitions. And then starting with why, as I already said, I see you laughing, this is one of the points that you worked on, Kumfai. But why do we focus on cycling in the Netherlands? It's more than a mode of transport, as I will delve into later. It's also good for economics, it's good for health, it's good for the environment, and it's more than just a way of getting from A to B. And secondly, it's also a solution for societal challenges. So in the Netherlands we have problems with housing, there's also concerns about health with more people that are being overweight. And cycling can be a part of the solution for those challenges. And I think in Thailand, of course it's rapidly urbanizing. Also there's traffic congestion, as we have all noticed. And I think here there's also health concerns with more people being overweight, and cycling can be a solution for that as well. And it's good to connect that cycling isn't an isolated part of policy, but that it can be connected to the other challenges that are present. And then quickly to delve into some of the benefits of cycling. So cycling is beneficial for the economy. Well, how? As you can see here, every kilometer cycled in the Netherlands benefits for almost 70 cents, whereas for cars, a kilometer driven by car costs society almost 40 cents because of emissions, because of deterioration of the roads. And whereas when you cycle to work, it's proven that you are more happy, it's proven that you're more productive at work, and it also proves that you're calling in less sick, and therefore you can contribute more to society, coming to a positive contribution to society of 70 cents. And also cyclists tend to spend more when they go shopping. They go more often than people by car, but overall they spend more. Secondly, cycling cities are pleasant cities, and the one that I want to point out here is cycling creates public space. So one car that is parked uses as much space as 10 bikes that are parked, and when it's driving it's even more. One car that is driving uses a space of 28 bikes, sorry. And that space, especially in a city like Bangkok, it's very dense. That space can be used to make the city more pleasant. And then another point that I want to make here is on the right, cycling leads to safer cities, which means it leads to safer cities when it's integrated policy. So when you cycle in a city like Bangkok now, it can feel unsafe. But when you have dedicated policy, cycling cities have fewer casualties. Because when everyone feels safe, everyone is cycling on dedicated, segregated lanes, it's safer, of course, than it would be in a city where people are cycling, where there is no dedicated policy for cycling. And on the right, you can see lower traffic speeds result in fewer deadly collisions. And then it says, that I don't think you can read it, so I will read it out. The likelihood of a deadly collision at speeds of 30 kilometers an hour or less is approximately 70% less than at 50 kilometers an hour. And then in Bangkok, we learned that often the maximum speed limit is 80 kilometers an hour, which makes it even more deadly, of course. Very dangerous. And then one final point on the why. Yesterday during lunch, we made a walk and I saw this, that the bike is cheaper than the motorbike. It says that the bike costs 8,000 baht and the motorbike costs 8,500. And I think for me it symbolizes that the bike is cheaper, making it more accessible for people that have less money and they can still go to work, they can still go to school, they can still go to sports, making it more inclusive than a motorbike, so to say. Also for maintenance, a bike of course is cheaper than a motorbike. Then on to the how. In the Netherlands, we think we shouldn't only focus on infrastructure, because when there's infrastructure, people still need to think like, how do I use this? They need to be aware of what can be done with the infrastructure. And I think on the slides of Kun Sanon in the beginning, you could see that there was a nice pavement dedicated for cycling, but no one is using it except for cars who can park their car there. So it's also about the mindset of people, and that's something that we need to focus on as well, to have like a comprehensive strategy that isn't only focusing on cycling infrastructure, but also takes into account the culture that is there. So, for example, focus on campaigns that people are aware why the road is red or why there is a bike on the road. Or, for example, start with education at schools, that children know how to use the bike. And then lastly, governance, to also work together with other organizations that are present in the field to make sure that the strategy that you have now also works in the long term. And then what? Well, in the Netherlands we have multiple strategies, but one of the ambitions that we have for to work on until 2025 is firstly to get 100,000 additional people for cycling to work. At the moment in the Netherlands there's a lot of people using the bike, for example, to go to university, but then when they start working they often take the car. So there's a huge potential to get more people to use their bike. And we do this by multiple measures, again, based on the hardware, software, orgware. For example, to see like, hey, people who live in one city, they often work in another city and get a direct bike path for them to travel more easily there. But another more orgware measure is, for example, to work together with employers, that their employees get more or a higher allowance for every kilometer cycled, or they get compensated when they buy a bike so that they can bike to work, making us reach this goal. Secondly, capitalize on the benefits of cycling in new housing developments, which basically is what I said in the beginning, to also capitalize on societal challenges and link it to that. And then thirdly, encourage as many people as possible who cannot cycle or do not have a bike to start cycling. So we, for example, have a program to encourage elderly people to start cycling and to keep on cycling when they become older. For example, to use another bike with some help, with some assistance, or to use a helmet to stay safe. But also focus on small kids for them to start cycling. Because as I said in the beginning, we have 18 million people and 23 million bikes, but I already have 4 bikes. So there are some people in the Netherlands who don't have a bike. And we as the government, we want to make sure that also they have the opportunity to use a bike. And then lastly, the Netherlands is and remains the #1 cycling country. I think we're quite well known for our cycling in the Netherlands, and with that also comes the responsibility, for example, to focus internationally, and that's what my job is, and one part of that is ACTIVE. And ACTIVE stands for Alliance for Cycling and Walking Towards International Vitality and Empowerment, and the workshop that we've hosted here the past 3 days is part of the ACTIVE program, where we have the goal of supporting the training of 10,000 active mobility experts in the coming 10 years. And it's a program that's initiated by the Netherlands, Belgium and Luxembourg, and where we focus on developing nations together with organizations such as the Dutch Cycling Embassy, but also with GIZ, which is a German Development Corporation, or the World Bank and the United Nations, to host these kind of trainings, because we think in this kind of alliance we can promote active mobility in the international stage by capacity building workshops to give also these countries the opportunity to stimulate cycling. And then very quickly about the workshop that we had, I think in the panel discussion later on they will also delve into it, but the idea of the workshops is that we have breakout sessions and we have a lot of interaction where we focus on specific topics, for example the hardware, software, orgware, but also we focus on like practical intersections or roundabouts, and then the groups can actively work, and then with the experts, Brad and Marco, they can give feedback. In the end, the groups mostly consist of people from the BMA, but also academics and bike enthusiasts. They come together to a final conclusion, and in the end they give a very nice presentation, and I think I can talk for all of us to say that we're very proud of what we have reached with the active workshop. And I'm very curious to what the follow-up will be of that. And then I will wrap up with some final takeaways. Firstly, combine hardware, software, orgware, so infrastructure together with the mindset and the governance to make sure that in the long run there is a comprehensive strategy that will work. Secondly, and I think it's quite important, find your own way to stimulate cycling. We as the Netherlands are well known for cycling, but in Europe we're one of the only countries that don't have a national cycling strategy. Because we in the Netherlands, we are quite known for polderen, which basically means compromising with other stakeholders to make sure that we're all into it. So we as a national government, we cannot really say like this is our strategy and we're going to do this. We need to work together with all stakeholders involved. And I think for Thailand and for Bangkok, it's important to find your own identity in this and do what works for you. And then lastly, I want to say Bangkok is bikeable. I think that was also the conclusion of our active workshop. And I think we have now 60 new bike enthusiasts and people that are very involved, including the deputy governor. So I'm very curious what will be the final turnout of this workshop. And I think I can now hand over the microphone to you.
Ta-da! Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you for the information. Well, we are arranging the chairs, so can I talk to you a little bit more? In the meantime, before we start our panel discussion, so we have a little bit of time. So what is your impression of biking in Bangkok? Is this your first time here? I mean, in the city, like.
Well, I cycled before with the Kovan Castle tour.
Okay.
And now I think it's a bit different. On Sunday when we arrived, we had a cycling tour where we were, I think, with 20 persons.
Yep.
And on Tuesday we did another cycling tour with 60 persons. And 60. I think there you notice when you're in a big group, it feels quite safe. Sorry.
Right.
But we were lucky to have Kumpei with us, who knows where to go, and he knew the route. But I think if you have to look every time where you have to go, I can understand it feels quite unsafe and not that encouraging to go cycling here.
Oh, okay. Wow.
But there are a lot of opportunities.
Yes, to come with all the three measures. Thank you for mentioning hardware, software, and orgware, because we will talk about that a lot later. Okay, lastly, Mr. Chun with 4 bikes. Why 4 bicycles and how? What are they?
Okay. Well, I have 1 bike for utility, just going from my home to the station.
Okay, and it's a small bike, foldable?
Well, for you it's probably a very big bike, but for me it's a normal size.
I'm standard size of tiger. Okay.
And
Yeah.
then I have another bike back at the house of my parents
Uh-huh.
for the same reasoning, so to say,
Ah,
to go
okay.
to sports, to go to the supermarket.
Uh-huh.
Then I have a race bike,
Uh-huh.
and then I have a mountain bike. And now I realize I actually have a fifth bike, but it's broken. So,
Okay. Yeah.
how
Thank
many
you very
bikes do
much.
you have?
I will always borrow the any wheel bike, which is very functional. Yeah, very good one. ขอบคุณค่ะ Thank you, Mr. Chun, for sharing with us. Okay, now we will move to our panel discussion, the highlight of today. And you can invite your friends to join us because we are live on Facebook as well, on the Embassy Facebook and Bike in the City Facebook. We will talk about Bike to Talk making Bangkok bikeable, and this will be stimulating as we bring all the experts, including Thai and the Dutch experts, will join us on the stage. Without further ado, let's welcome our panelists. Ms. Margot Daris, Project Manager of Dutch Cycling Embassy. Let's sit here. I'll sit here next to you. Mr. Marco Mulder, Consultant Active Travel of Arcadis. Mr. Brett Petzer, Mobility Advisor of Mobicon. Yes, that please. Mr. V. Virapon, Designer and Founder of Conscious Studio. Or Bikeable Bangkok signage in Bangkok Design Week 2024. Mr. Sin Rairat Panit, Committee Member of Thailand Walking and Cycling Institute Foundation. หรือพี่ฝ้ายนะคะเดี๋ยวมาคุยกันนะคะ Okay, he is coming. So thank you for joining us this morning. Maybe I can move my chair a bit so I can see everybody's face. Right. So I know you have such a productive work for the last 3 days. So this morning we can be a little more relaxed, like bike in the garden, okay? And Piu Phai, you can be my co-host as well to ask the question. And if you want to add anything during our conversation, please feel free. Yeah, let's do it informal. But first, how about we introduce ourselves and give the audience an update about some of your works and that relate to bike-friendly solutions in the urban environment. Let's start with you, Marco. Can I call you Margie? Okay, Margie and Marco, so it's easier.
Thank you. My name is Margot, or you can call me Margie, because my name is very similar to his. I work as a project manager at the Dutch Cycling Embassy, and I had the honor to visit Bangkok last November to get to know a lot of people who are working in the field of urban mobility here in Bangkok, to meet the governor, to meet the deputy governors. And that whole week I was thinking, wow, there are so many opportunities to create a cycle-friendly city here. I was very inspired by a lot of you who are sitting here again, who I also met last time. I just think you have all the elements in Bangkok to become cycle-friendly, but now it's the time to get all these things together, and to really get to action and to really utilize this opportunity.
Mm-hmm. So how do you see your role this time to do the workshop or to advise?
So at the Dutch Cycling Embassy, we organize these workshops all over the world. And now we had the opportunity to do that here in Bangkok. I brought 2 experts and an expert from the ministry here. And this week we have been thinking about the hardware, software and orgware opportunities here in the city and how we can add a little touch of Dutch to that, to learn from the Dutch experience and to apply that to this context, to get to a bikeable Bangkok.
Okay, cool. Thank you. Short brief first and then we'll talk in depth later. So next to you.
Yeah, so hello everyone, I'm Marco Mulder. Not Margot, Marco, it's a slight difference, just 1 letter, or 2 letters actually. I'm a consultant in active travel for Arcadis, an engineering company. I have a planning background, so I try in my work to combine planning and engineering. And I mostly work for cities in the Netherlands, and I'm trying to also work for cities across basically the globe. And this is one of the things that I like doing, also bringing knowledge of our Dutch experience to other places and applying it here. And yes, like Marco said, there's some good things in Bangkok already in terms of the preconditions for cycling, like the fact that it's flat, it's nice weather every day. So the preconditions are there, and now maybe the next step would be infrastructure and culture.
Okay, thank you. Next, Brett, your turn. Introduce yourself, please.
Hello, sorry. Hello, everyone. My name is Brett. I'm now live in the Netherlands, but I was born in Cape Town in South Africa, also a city that should be one of the world's great cycling cities. Beautiful, also flat, but there's the cars everywhere, so it isn't. But I had that experience of being a cyclist in Cape Town, and I thought, but it's wonderful to cycle here. I always get there. I always get to a destination before my friends who are in cars because they have to look for parking, and I couldn't understand why nobody believed me when I told them these things. And I think there are many cities in the world like that. I think Bangkok is one of them. But I then came to the Netherlands to do a PhD in why cities find it so difficult to actually give space from the car to cycling and walking when they know they want to and they know the benefits, and there's no real doubt about the science, but the politics is very hard. So then, since then, I've been lecturing a little at universities in the Netherlands, and for the last few years I've been working at Mobicon, where I help in designing cycle infrastructure and also doing research on where can we find these points where the city is getting stuck in its ambitions and actually reallocate the space.
Right. Wow, that's a really big question with the emphasis like why it is so difficult, right? Right. Okay, ค่ะ คุณวี your turn.
Hi, my name is Wee Virapon. My main job is a graphic designer. I came to see the potential of cycling in daily life about 20 years ago when I studied in London, because I grew up in Bangkok and I went to college before we had BTS, and if you all can imagine how terrible it was. And once I got back here, I started cycling in the city despite all the odds and difficulties. And earlier this year for Bangkok Design Week, I had a chance to use my expertise as a graphic designer specializing in environmental graphics and wayfinding to propose a project and experimented with the real space in the city, doing signage, parking spot, and also planning the routes for the duration of the event. And we came up with some interesting findings that I will share with you today.
Thank you. And คุณฝ้าย your turn.
Hi, hello, I'm Phai Silpa Waratpanich. I'm a part of committees members of Thailand Walking and Cycling Institute foundations, and our organizations is promoting walking and cycling in Thailand, not only in Bangkok. We had the research doing all around the big cities around Thailand. So well, I just want to bike, to be honest, you know. So people around me just, you know, opposed to me that why do you bike in Bangkok? It's very dangerous and it's very, you know, challenging.
Even your parents don't understand you, right?
Exactly.
So
Even my
dangerous.
family still against me. I don't know if I can put this on the live. Don't tell anyone, okay? That I'm saying that.
Right, and you have been cycling for decades long.
For 10 years.
10
yes,
years,
yeah,
okay.
yeah.
So we should start from you to point out all the problems. And as we have mentioned the three measures, okay, hardware, software, hardware, I think we should start from software of
Right.
human attitude.
After the workshops, what I have seen so far is people start thinking of everything else besides hardware. Because previously we always focusing on the infrastructures and how to build infrastructures in the cities, and we proved that it's fail, because people don't understand like why do we need cycling and why do we need to separate the space for bicycle. So during my work in the area, the old town. We have experience about the attitude of people. At that project, we focusing on pedestrians and pedestrian only. So we trying to find a space for pedestrians. If you could imagine that the area in the old town is very small street, and there's a lot of cars coming through. Both through and to the destinations in the area. So it's like once you open the door from your buildings, and the first thing that you see is the car lanes. There's no sidewalk, there's no pedestrian sidewalk. So what we did was we reduced the width of the lane, but we still keep the same number of the lanes on the street. We reduced the width, and the width was like 5 meters wide on the very busy street. And you could imagine that with that wider road, and you're expecting the car to slow down for pedestrians, and that was absurd, right? So what we did was we reduced the width of the lanes to 3 meters, so we have like a 2 meters wide on shoulder lanes. And once we did that, we discovered that there were a lot of pedestrians before and to compare with before and after the treatment that we applied it on. However, the thing is, when we did the wider the shoulder lanes, now it's becoming car park.
Thank you
So
for making car park.
So-
and who authorized them? They just park.
It's actually
Is it illegal to
that
park?
that
there?
street is actually no parking zone, So, but people saying that, how are they gonna park their car? How are they gonna go to the shops there? And or if I live here, where am I gonna park my car? Since I live here, so I should be able to park here. So now it's becoming like we're trying to find a space for pedestrians, but it's turned out like the car-dominated people still, using that space that we dedicated for. So it's coming to the attitude of people. Like if they stick to the car and they don't understand, like why do we need to promote the walking and cycling in that area to be able to have the space for them to be able to walk with the safe environment. And yeah.
That sounds familiar. With the movie, the documentary you showed us last year, is it similar to Netherlands 50 years ago? And how do you deal with that?
So
With the attitude, like
yeah.
there's a the shopper needs the customer to park in front of their shop.
From the movie that we have seen last time, we've seen that in Netherlands, especially in Amsterdam, it was just like Bangkok.
Yeah.
In 50 years ago. So it would be very interesting to see like the first year that you have like a campaign or real to promote cycling in Netherlands. That means you need to change people's mind at that time, and that time was like car-dominated cities, right?
Right.
What happened there? And if you have like a people against, some group of people who want to cycling in Netherlands, and how do you deal with that? That would be interesting to hear.
Shall I answer that? Yeah.
Sure,
So,
sure, please, Marco.
I'll be brutally honest with you. It still is the same in the Netherlands now. We still face the same issues that we did 50 years ago.
Okay.
Yeah, we do. Even in Amsterdam, I think, in some parts. Maybe in the city center, it's different now, but because people realize in the city center that there are benefits. But in other parts where you have neighborhoods that are more car dependent, the situation is still the same. In the city I live in, The Hague, same story, relatively car dependent city. And I guess it's all about two things, about perseverance, so keep on pushing, reiterating the message. It takes time, and yeah, perseverance. It might drain your energy, but just keep the energy high and keep on sending the same message. I think that's one thing. And the other thing is explain to them that there's actually benefits. Like Teun was showing in his presentation, people on bikes, they might spend less per visit, but they come more often. So in total, they spend more. So that could be, you know, something to mention to shop owners. I'm not sure how it is for restaurants. Like the place we visited was mostly restaurants, but it's probably the same. And another benefit is, I guess that, you know, if there's more cyclists coming to your street, they take up less space, and you can make a nicer street, and a nicer street attracts people. So maybe there might be more people coming.
To add to that, most of our shopping areas are completely pedestrianized. It is about providing people with the opportunity to park their cars somewhere else. So if there is a big parking lot at the border of the city center, that they leave the car there, and then they walk towards the city center, and there it is pedestrianized. And if you take away 1 or 2 car parking spaces, you can make the terraces bigger so people can sit outside there. So, for example, the street that you showed us this week, and that was also in the presentation.
Right.
It's a beautiful street with lots of local entrepreneurs and restaurants, but there are so many cars parked there. If you take them all out, you can create so much space for the people who are having lunch or having a coffee.
Okay.
And
which street?
Mahanop.
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 Mahanop. Ah, okay. Yeah, many shops, many local shops.
Yeah,
for generations. Have
it
been
was
there.
so nice to walk there and be there and to see the projects that you've already implemented. So I would say take it to the next step and completely pedestrianize that street. The cars can go around it.
Okay, so
So we need to raise this issue
top down,
to
top down.
from the top
This
down.
one we need the top down approach. And okay, that will connect to the hardware issue.
Right.
Like, where is the parking space then? Who's gonna provide that? Is it gonna be his work again?
Is
The
it
deputy
a
work or?
city responsibility to find a parking for the people?
Okay. Or, I think we have the BTS participant here, the SkyTrain people join
Oh.
us today. I hope so. I saw the registration. Could be a private sector that help to provide the parking lots.
Yeah, but you can also
But a cheap one.
cheap
Okay.
one. I guess you can also argue whether you should provide all parking spaces that are there now back again in the future. In some cases, like in the city center, if people live in the city center, everything is relatively close. You can maybe ask the question to yourself, do we really need a car? Or can we get around using public transport, the bike and walking to get to the places I need to go to? And then in a lot of Dutch cities, for instance, we see that in city centers there's shared cars. So if you need a car, you can use a shared car to get to your place of destination that might not be accessible with public transport. And then you don't need to own a car. And if everybody does the same thing and uses maybe one shared car instead of 10 private cars, then yeah, you have the space and less parking space is needed.
That's a very interesting concept. So, however, because we cannot change that like in tomorrow.
People still own car.
Yeah,
I
because
have 2 cars at home, for example. Right.
right, because right now if we implement that no parking
I don't
zone,
have car. He said, I mean, just an example. Who has more than 1 car at your home? Some, right?
I do. So if we implement that no parking zone like in the old town, however, people still own a car. Maybe in the future that they might not need the car if we have like all the infrastructure and services, public services. But right now they still own one. So how do we deal with that? Yeah. Great.
I think here there's a real opportunity to change the terms of the debate, starting now and building into the future. We've talked about, I think we all agree that somehow when you have a car and you need to find a place, you need to find 6 square meters or in a city, a big city of 10 million people, then and you need to find a place to store your private property, then that is the government's problem right now.
Oh, okay.
You know, but lots of people have bicycles and no one worries about where they'll park. You know, that's not. So I think it comes back to really the politics deep down, where cars are, in many ways, we can't see cars. We can't. They are everywhere, and sometimes it takes living in the Netherlands for me to really look at them with fresh eyes and see that cars are considered essential and cycling is considered optional. Cars create incredible harm, benefits too, but incredible harm, but the harm is considered just part of the cost of doing business. And I do think that in the future, especially using data, but also being aware of the terms of this debate, if we could really start to assess all these transport modes in a fair and equal way, then the benefits of cycling will do the rest. As cars cannot compete with cycling and walking in a city. And even a city of 10 million people, we did say the thing that is essential is to have a dense, mixed-use city. And Bangkok is a dense, mixed-use city. That the city has more than half the population of the Netherlands in this city at this density. So I think that once Bangkok, like every community in the world, it's the time to do it is now, to start measuring in an equal way. Do cars deserve as much support and subsidy as they get? Or do bikes deserve, if cars deserve this much subsidy, then bikes deserve more. And then I think the rest is easy after that political change. The political change will not be easy though. But after that it gets easy.
Yeah, well, and because Thailand is a car industry dominator, the economy, I have to say that. Okay, how about another kind of attitude, the attitude of convenience, like car is cool with the aircon inside, I don't want to work out because I'll get sweat when I go to work. This attitude is very simple, but many people offend about that. Okay, just a quick suggestion from you guys. Do you have any problem in other countries, and how do you suggest that?
Yeah, I first want to say it's not necessarily that we think cars are bad. It is just providing people with an option to choose if they want to walk, bike, or go somewhere to drive in a car. It is about giving people the choice to pick the right option for them at the right moment. So if you want to go and visit family who live 20 or 30 kilometers away, then maybe it is a better option to go there by car. But if you go to the shops, if you go to the groceries, then it might be better to bike there. Or if you go to work, then you can bike. So it is always about the possibility to do whatever fits to your needs. And I think that's why it is so convenient to bike everywhere. Because you're very flexible, it offers you a lot of freedom, it saves a lot of time, it saves money. So there are lots of reasons why it is more convenient to bike somewhere for short distances.
I love the idea คุณฝ้ายค่ะ
Just like Deputy Governor Visnu said yesterday, he was focusing on the first mile and last mile. So from the workshops, we really learned that bicycle is very, very good for act as a feeder to the transportations. And we talk about that we ride bicycle from our house to, let's say, like train stations. But at the train stations, we do need the secure parking also, right? So if BTS people is here, there will be good opportunity that we could talk about like a space for right parking for bicycle, right? So another thing is also the parking itself, the parking rack itself. And I have heard that Kun Wee has been working on the parking spot and the parking rack during the Bangkok Design Week, which is the event that held like every yearly to test out all the theory in the cities that the government allow the artists and the researchers to implement like a city lab in those areas. How it come out and what any interesting result that you have seen so far?
Right เดี๋ยวขอสไลด์หน่อยนะครับ Okay, I don't want to take credit for designing the parking rack. It is the work of the whole team. And all right, okay, the slide is on. Next page, please. Can I have a clicker? Okay. Okay, so during this year's Bangkok Design Week, there are three things that we tested: the prototype, the routes, the parking rack, and the navigation system. And we try to cover the area, some districts of Bangkok Design Week, because the event got bigger and bigger every year, and there are complaints about people not having enough time to hop around to see all the exhibition. So we started with working with CEA, Creative Economy Agency, the host, and try to create a bike route that covers multiple districts. And we team up with Anywheel to provide the shared bike, and in the middle is our prototype parking rack, and then we get the navigation system that we place the map, wayfinding signages, and also you can scan the QR code to make the Google Map pop up on your phone. And okay, this is how we did the prototype. The aim was to get the bike locked at multiple points. So we created this diamond shape, and we tested them in multiple sizes to fit different sizes of wheels. And from the questionnaire, we got a lot of satisfaction from the users. And okay, this one is my own bike. So as you can see, you can lock at one point with the U-lock and another point with the chain, very thick one. We also tested out the wayfinding signage, and this is how it looks like in actual spot. So we did 11 of these in multiple districts and managed to test it out for only 9 days, unfortunately. And since the BMA did not allow us to permanently fix the rack and onto the footpath, in our questionnaires there were several complaints about it's not safe enough because I can take out all the bolts and the rack by ourselves. Okay. And so we organized bike trips, and there were multiple clubs joining us every night. And okay, allow me to mention this spot, the slip lanes, right?
Slip lane เลนเลี้ยวซ้ายผ่านตลอด
We found this one near Papa Mansi, one of the main exhibition place, and Kun Fai suggested that we use this as a bike parking spot. And on the left is when we place any wheel station and our parking rack. But during the event days, it is occupied by motorcycles.
Wow.
Okay, I'm not gonna go into the numbers, but as you can see that the usage got more than double. Oops, can't go back. Oops. Okay, please turn off the slide now.
Turn off. Are they still there, the parking racks?
Only a few locations.
Okay.
Only on a few locations. Hua Lamphong, right, and where else?
And front of the BMA City Hall.
And thanks to Any Wheel, all the stations remain operational even after the event. Maybe they are so happy that on some spots the usage just double or triple compared to before the festival.
So yesterday, Brett was show us the map, the wayfinding map in Netherlands, and it was very intriguing. And also-
Wayfinding.
Yes,
Probably you explain
wayfinding,
more.
yeah.
What is
Could
it?
you
Is it like a
explain more?
map?
This is one of my favorite things about the Netherlands. It's actually, like many parts of the cycling system, people assume that it has been there for generations, and it only started in 1999. But it is a system of waypoints, so a point in the city or in the countryside where there's a sign that says, this is waypoint number 9, and at waypoint number 9, there'll be a pole with a sign on it, and usually a map as well, and directions to get to 3 other waypoints that are next to it. And what these waypoints are is basically a finely meshed grid of location markers, and the mesh we're talking about is something like between 2.5 to 3-4 kilometers square, that covers not just cities and not just heritage routes or tourism routes, but the entire country. So that when you need to, if you wanted to take a trip from Amsterdam to Rotterdam, we're talking hours of cycling, you would not need a map. You would not need any knowledge really of where you're going. All you would need to do is ahead of time, look at this waypoint system and write down numbers in order. 16, 71, 9, 8. So the numbers are 1 to 99, and they just repeat endlessly, but so that they're not next to each other. And so if you write down this series of numbers, you can travel for hundreds of kilometers across the country without the need of a map. And what this does is it is really a promise that says that the entire country is there ready to be explored. And I think that is the strength of cycling in the Netherlands, is that it's for everybody everywhere. Not just people who live in cities, and not just people who live in beautiful rivers or premium places where cycling would be beautiful or attractive. It's everywhere. It's also just to go to a factory or the system. So the system is about universal access, and it also is incredibly simple.
Right. No digital. Just analog. You can write a number on your hands and
It's wonderfully offline.
wow,
And
because it's not easy to look on the screen when you cycle. But is it applicable in Bangkok?
Bangkok.
Like Aspify and
Could it
could we
be?
have we tried that with your project?
Oh,
We have Kunpei here. If we have that kind of system, then Kunpei would be, gone.
Kun Pei can raise a bit more because we don't need him every time, right?
when we designed our system for Bangkok Design Week, the goal of each map sign at the bike rental spot wasn't to show the whole area, but we just point them to the next waypoint. And on the directional signage that we put on electric poles, it says like head to the next waypoint, like from Sapan Taksin to Praisani Grang through Masjid Harun, for example. So we refer to another attractions or another important places along the way. The aim was to take people away from cycling on the main road and through the alley, but they know where their destination is, and once they get to the next waypoint, they see the sign to the next one. So in total of 11 points, we hope to create a loop of just only 15 kilometers, which might not sound that much, but for people who don't cycle in Bangkok, when you say 15 kilometers, they would be discouraged. And what about the Netherlands? Does 15 kilometers sounds really little for you?
You said like, I can walk. No.
15 kilometers.
I will say a short thing, which is that 15 kilometers sounds like a lot, but in the Netherlands, it's very easy to cycle that distance without breaking a sweat, because due to the quality of the infrastructure, you're not wasting most of your energy by stopping and starting constantly.
Oh,
And
you don't have to go
it's
up to
also
the ramp. No.
cycling in Dublin or London or Paris. Still, these cities are changing very quickly, faster than I think anyone thought cities that big can change. But still, if I take the example of cycling in Paris, not only are you wasting more energy stopping and starting than you are using to cycle. I mean, imagine the equivalent for a car. It would be like turning off the engine every time that you get to a stop street. But also, the level of concentration required is much lower in the Netherlands. You don't need to be monitoring everything happening around you and trying to anticipate where all of the motorists, what they'll do next, and do they see you. All those things add to the mental load and the physical load. So I think that's the numbers in the Netherlands. Cycling, you can cycle for 25 kilometers and hardly notice that you've been doing exercise. Because
Wow.
your mind won't be on
Sounds
the
amazing.
exercise, it'll be on the experience, things around you.
I just wanted to add one thing about something you mentioned earlier, which kind of relates to this about comfort and convenience. Even though here it might be warm and you might break a sweat, like Brett said here, riding for 15 kilometers, I guess it relates to the weather in the Netherlands. So it's not good weather in the Netherlands either, right? It rains quite a bit. So you don't break a sweat, but you do get wet. I guess we have a saying in the Netherlands, there's no such thing as bad weather, there's only bad clothing, right? And I guess here another thing would apply, there's no such thing as maybe sweating,
Rain.
but there's only the lack of a shower, maybe at your destination. I heard yesterday a lot that when I cycle to work, I don't want to arrive at work sweaty, because of the heat. If you would have the opportunity to shower at work, then maybe 15 kilometers isn't too bad, because you'll be able to shower there, and then change.
All right. Okay, you can add more.
I mean, and what employer would not prefer to provide a shower room for employees who then arrive at work in the morning energized and their minds activated, feeling healthy, and then not have to provide 10 to 15 parking spaces, which are very, very expensive. So I think there's, the cycling, the benefits are, I think, so obvious. And I will say, as Margot said, it's not that cars are bad. I can often sound like that. But I just mean, if we treat these modes equally, then we don't force people to drive for everything. And we let these modes each do what they do well, as Margot said. But inside a city like this one, I think cycling and I expect the cycling, walking, and the train will be most competitive.
I see.
Right.
Wow, okay. So we add another stakeholder, so employer.
Yeah,
should
employer. So speaking
consider
about equality, there was an argument about the stop at the crosswalk for pedestrians. So most of the car user, I'm not saying that they belong to here. However, most of them saying that like why they need to stop for the pedestrian to cross if I have to stop at the red light, you know. So there was kind of argument that okay, I'm sitting in the car and I need to wait for some other mode of transportation to go first. And if you compare with the pedestrians, then pedestrians should stop for the car to go first also. And that kind of argument is like always pop up during the conversations when I go to the public hearing. So the thing is, equality of each mode of transportation is not actually equal, right? Because walking and cycling is using our own energy. However, the rider for car and motorcycle, they use engines. And so
They said they pay for the higher cost of it. Okay, anyway.
right, yeah.
What's your thought?
Do you have any suggestion about this argument?
I would say that you should always plan your infrastructure for the most vulnerable road user, and pedestrians are the most vulnerable road users. After that, we have the cyclists, then the motorcycles, and then the cars. So the pedestrians should always go first, and then the bikes, and then the cars. Indeed, it's about equality and
Right.
treating everyone equal.
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe to add to that, I don't know if you remember the triangle we showed
Yes,
in
yes,
the
I
presentation.
remember,
The reverse triangle, actually upside down triangle with the pedestrian on top
On top,
should be
yes.
most important with every decision. First in line, and then the bike, and then the private car comes last. So depending on where you are, it depends, I guess, on also the place. You design your cycle times around the pedestrian, for instance, at the traffic signals, or the space that you provide for each mode. But maybe in another place where you're in a highway, for instance, the car can be more dominant.
Right. Exactly.
Sometimes people wonder why bicycle helmets are hardly worn in the Netherlands. And it's true that they're not really needed, but there's also something like an invisible national helmet, which is our laws. There can never be equality between a person driving a car and a person walking, because the person walking or cycling, just even if they make a mistake, they don't create a risk of harm to the other person, whereas motorists, and I drove for years in my life, it's just in the nature of a vehicle, a car, that you can pose a risk of harm to other people. And so I think that it's really that the government, the city, can do and should do things to enhance the safety of pedestrians and cyclists, because that would then be equal. I mean, cars give protection from the danger that cars cause. Cars are air conditioned, but they themselves make the city much hotter. Cars you can sit in cool and clean air in the car while making the air dirtier outside the car. So when we, and I sound like cars are bad. They're not bad. They're not bad. It's just let
cost
us
more.
It's just if these are the facts, then I think it shows how much the city and governments can do to make cycling and walking not just safe. It must be safe, but there's so much more to make it the best part of your day. That your
Sure.
commute in is the time that you do your best thinking in the day with a clear head, moving through a city where you hear, you feel, you smell, you have a rich experience of the city, and you come to love the city, and you come to have a very deep knowledge of your roots as a cyclist. And you notice things, and you can talk to people.
Right.
There are all these other things beyond safety, but safety is, safety is very important.
That's why bicycle should be a choice of transportation as well. But if we cannot change the attitude of people in a short period of time, what about the hardware? Okay, go back to hardware again. How do we change the functions on the road to provide more
Infrastructure,
equality to the pedestrian? For example, slip lane that you said it's an output of the workshop as well. Would you like to share about that?
Sure. I'll go first. So I guess it depends on your audience, who you're trying to convince to take the slip lane. A different for if the slip lane is the example, right? So depending on the audience, you use different arguments. And I guess one of the things that I found during the work I do, what always works really well is numbers. People love numbers and being convinced by numbers because numbers do not lie. So if numbers say, well, actually, there's only a few cars turning left here on the slip lane, and then maybe you have numbers or figures on people that walk or cycle there, and compare the two, and then you say, well, maybe these car numbers don't justify the slip lane that much.
Okay. Well, I want to hear that. Do you have the real statistics of, I don't know, in Bangkok or
We
somewhere?
actually, during the workshop, we actually use a real number of
Okay.
that junctions, and we could see like some of the slip lanes is very few people to compare with the people who, go straight or turn right.
But I understand the car user, you feel privileged, right? When you can turn left without waiting for the traffic lights, but actually just a few cars, right?
Yes, just a few cars.
Yeah, but the pedestrian have to wait for the light. How can you change that? So just stop using the slip lanes and let them follow the traffic light as usual, or do you have to change to do any construction to change that?
I think we should stop thinking that cars are always for speeding. Cars can speed up when they're outside of the city and when they're on a highway. Inside the city, in urban areas, cars should not be speeding so much. If there is an intersection, they need to slow down. If you have a slip lane, cars do not get the incentive to slow down. And if they don't, then you get dangerous situations. Because pedestrians and cyclists are currently not protected. They are somewhat protected at intersections, but not for the slip lanes. So if the cars feel like they have priority and they can just make the left turn, they're not going to look over their shoulder and see if there's a person standing there who also wants to cross the street. By removing the slip lanes, we give the cars incentive. There's a red light. Okay, I need to slow down. I need to stop. I think it should not be a privilege for cars. We should not reward cars to drive fast and make that free left turn. They should also wait and give priority to human beings who are also using the road. And yeah, I think the two of you can.
Yes.
I could never say it better.
Right. Okay, you can add more.
I just wanted to add one thing to the conversation relating to your question. Do you need construction?
Anything?
I think what Kunfei has also shown in the street that we visited before, that in some cases you can just try and pilot things and then monitor the results and evaluate afterwards. And then after you see, for instance, the slip lane is easy to cross off with bollards. That's easy to do.
เสาส้มอะครับ bollard.
Okay.
The
กล้วย
orange
ส้ม
poles.
Yeah, the pole.
Okay.
Yeah.
อ๋อเสาส้มที่ติดอยู่ตรงนั้นเลย โอเคเสาส้มค่ะ
Yeah. So and if you use those, it can be done overnight, right? Quickly, and then the
And
next.
it could be removed overnight also.
Yes, no, it can also be removed overnight as well.
We have the
But then if you
expert.
monitor what happens after that, and then you see, well, actually, it works. Then you can prove to people that maybe oppose It works. So we have arguments in the numbers for this measure, and then you can move towards the actual construction, make it better.
Okay. And from the workshop, are we going to have this implementation somewhere?
We'll see.
We'll see.
We will see.
I want to bike around there.
Yeah,
Okay,
finger crossed.
Margie?
So what we did during the workshop, we looked at a few huge intersections. We called them the monsters. Because they are monsters, because they're super dangerous for a lot of road users. So we were looking at the numbers, looking at the infrastructure. A lot of times there are 6 lanes for cars, and then also 6 in the other direction, and then from all 4 directions. If we take away the slip lanes, it has the benefits that the cars slow down, but it also has the benefit that we have extra space on the road, so we can transform that into bike lanes. And then we have 2 wins: cars slow down, and there's more space for cyclists.
With the bike lane, yeah, my question, how obvious we should show that this is the bike lane, like all paint in red or just the bicycle picture? The design wise, like how should we do with the bike lane?
I would make it as obvious as possible. In the Netherlands, it's usually red, but you can choose any color that you want, because it shows the cyclists, it helps with wayfinding, you know your place on the road, but also the cars know where they should not go and where they should pay extra attention because other people are using that piece of infrastructure.
Okay, but in the rush hour, can the car go on the red path? No?
No.
Confirm
I actually
no.
have nothing to add to what Margaret was saying. No,
Obviously,
I think the most important thing that she mentioned is that people understand with a color, people understand what is expected of them. Same for car drivers. They understand that it's not expected of them to park there. Obviously, you also need enforcement. So it doesn't only have to do with the color. You also need the enforcement to actually make it work.
Good thing that you bring that up. So the next topic that we want to talk about,
Sorry.
It might be very heavy.
Okay,
A
yeah,
little
because
bit.
we have half
We have
an
time.
hour
Okay.
left. Let's talk about authority.
Okay.
The awkware.
The
Okay.
awkware.
Last
Now we
topic.
come to the
most
awkware.
challenging. The awkware. Okay.
So,
What's the problem now in Bangkok?
We know that to change people behavior and we expect that creating the proper environment would shape people behavior, such as like a traffic calming element that we learn in the workshops. So, but some of behavior cannot be be forced by the just only changing environment. What happens if a city is lack of one of the 3 safety system? The education, engineering, and enforcement. So for the education, we could send out the message. We can do the campaigns, and for engineering, we have like a civil engineering. We have like all those engineer, even architect who design all the kind of the street. However, the enforcement is very need authority to do it. What if a city is lacking of enforcement and we cannot do anything about it? What do you suggest that we do something instead rather than just force those authority to enforce?
To wait until they are free to join us. Okay, any suggestion?
I think it would be a pity if enforcement is not going to become a big part of the city's cycling strategy, because you can, I think, engineer the physical cycling infrastructure in such a way that enforcement is less necessary, but then it becomes very expensive, because then if you cannot trust that every bike lane will not simply be deactivated by somebody parking a car in it, then every bike lane needs a physical barrier against the street. And then if you so you can do a lot, but in the end, you spend most of your money not on the bike network, but on protecting the bike network. And so I think that is something that can be better done by enforcement, or more efficiently done by enforcement. And what do you think, Marco?
That's very hard questions.
I know we can brainstorm about this. It's really hard.
I do think that in some cases the design, or in most cases the design can maybe clarify what behavior is expected of people, and can also address maybe certain behavior types that you don't want to see. Like for instance, the parking on a cycle facility in Bangkok, a high curb could help. I mean, you have high curbs for sidewalks. Why not use the same high curb to extend the sidewalk with an additional cycle lane? I didn't see anybody park on a sidewalk so far, but maybe I've not been to the right places.
Ironically, we do have a lot. You just haven't seen it yet.
Okay, so you didn't show me.
natural.
I don't have the complete picture, but in general, I'd say that should be able to work. And I guess in terms of enforcement, there are probably also ways to make life easier for the enforcers. So, for instance, in the Netherlands, we talked about pay parking a lot. A lot of cities in the Netherlands use a camera car with an ANPR camera, so a camera that actually scans license plates to see, you know, this person has paid for parking or this person hasn't, and then you have your data, and with that data you can find people, and the same could apply for people parking in a cycle facility here. And in the Netherlands, I mean, there's fines for that as well. I'm not sure about the height of the fine. I think it's about 90 euros if you park on a cycle facility. So also let's say the height of the fine might scare off people to do it.
Well, here's like 500 baht.
Right.
800 baht already. Okay.
Is that correct?
For the fine if you park in a.
Yeah. We do have this kind of case happening in Bangkok. We have like a camera that scan the license plates of the motorcycles who drive on the sidewalk, and usually it's very effective. So it's less bicycle riding on the footpath. However, now they come to the tricky part that they just cover their license. Or even take off the license.
The license plate.
Thai people are smart, huh?
Yeah.
Right. Or
We
they
know
even
how to
put
adapt.
like a sticker, to make the numbers a little fuzzy, something like that.
This is a huge problem in New York, in the US.
Okay.
Sometimes there have been studies that show that 20% of all the license plates in the city are defaced in some way, so that they are, and I think then again, if your license plate, cars have license plates so that the people who drive them can be held responsible for things, usually things much more serious than just parking somewhere, So if you are driving a car and you've decided that you will not be held responsible because you've defaced your license plate, then I think that actually should be treated as quite a serious offense, because also if that motorcyclist hurt somebody, there would be no way of tracing that. So
Correct. Yeah.
I guess I'm not saying anything that most people would disagree, or certainly not us, but would disagree with. But I do hope that we can have the courage to enforce that problem as well, because we are in a city agreeing to live together and agreeing to cooperate, and then there has to be some responsibility. We are not all perfect people, and license plates are an acknowledgement of that, so.
Exactly. So at the end, we still do enforcement. So the next step is, how do we encourage people who has this authority to enforce the law?
You mean policemen? Or
Yeah, that's a good question. In Netherlands, do you do like volunteers or outsourcing for this type of jobs?
To be an eye
Yeah,
for the
to be an eye
cyclist,
for
not just the policeman, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Any other group of people who help pushing this?
No, they're all sort of police persons. But we were talking about the design, and I think the design can help enforcement as well. During the workshop, we did the cross-section designs. So we looked at the way the streets look now. So for example, sidewalk, 3 lanes, one direction, 3 lanes, the other direction, and then another sidewalk. We took the same measurements from building to building, and then we thought, okay, pedestrian, sidewalk, bike lane, we do greenery and benches, then only 2 lanes, and 2 lanes the other direction, again greenery, a sidewalk, or a cycle path, and then a sidewalk. So with the greenery, you create a natural fence, both from the sun, so the temperature goes down because you can cycle in the shade, but there's also a natural fence that the cars cannot park on the bike lane or on the sidewalk.
Right, like here in front of the embassy with you. Seems like the perfect
Exactly. There are
example,
also
right?
a lot of trees, also quite a high sidewalk, so it is not possible for the cars to park there. And it also adds value to the city because it looks nicer.
Right.
But
No, I just have another thought because thinking about enforcement, I think what Margot is saying is right about design, but in terms of enforcement, I guess in the Netherlands there's also a difference. So here in Bangkok, the police is doing the enforcement on parking, right? Whereas in the Netherlands, that responsibility lies with the municipality, because they own the land basically where people park on, so they have been mandated to also enforce wrongdoing with their land. And I guess in this case, it's maybe interesting to think about the fact that you have the police checking what happens on property that is property of BMA. Just something to think about. Maybe the mandate should be with BMA.
yeah, right. But now it's still with the police. Andพี่วี what about not the enforcement, but let's say the permission from the authority when you want to implement something, like for example the bike racks, you also need
when we
that
put the
permission.
bike
I think
rack
that's
on the
another
sidewalk,
problem, right?
Okay, I think it's quite complicated. When we did the prototype rack, and we told CEA, the Creative Agency, Economy Agency, the host of Bangkok Design Week, to get permission for us to install the rack on the sidewalk, and then in one of the spots that we planned, it was under Sapan Taksin BTS station, and CEA came back to us and said that this particular spot doesn't belong to the BMA because it happened to be under the expressway that sits above the BTS, and so you have to get permission from กรมทางหลวงชนบท, like
Another public organization.
another
kind of
organization, and this is how things work in Bangkok. Like, okay, this part of the road belong to this organization, and another section belong to another organization, and the signage might belong to another organization.
That's true. Well,
Sorry,
you
I
have to
only
lots
make
of
things
paper,
more complicated.
Lots of papers.
A lot of stakeholders.
Okay, Brett, want to say something?
Sorry, on that point of stakeholders, enforcement is obviously, enforcement in the way we've been talking is an activity done by people who have the legal right to do it. But there's also, I think, a question of social legitimacy. If nobody in a city thinks that the bike lane is useful for cyclists, or that cyclists deserve a bike lane, then I think it becomes hard to get police to really see that as a priority. And I think that maybe the one thing in the Netherlands is that there is, for every policeman or person enforcing parking, behind them there are 20 citizens who who know that cycling means something for them and gives something to them. The people who cycle most in the Netherlands are the people above working age and teenagers, I think, if I'm not wrong. So it's and the bike revolution really started with parents. And when parents demand something from society, especially if it's keep our children safe, then they usually win. You know, no society would go against parents with that demand. So I'd say that there's enforcement, and behind enforcement, there's a much bigger group of people who believe that enforcement is necessary and will vote in politicians who also think that, and will complain if there's not enough enforcement, and will make sure that police have budgets to do this. All of that is behind the enforcement, and I think that's an important, just important.
Yeah, we need to find that group of people.
Yeah.
How about here in Bangkok, parents? Do they join? Yes, some
say
of you
something
already
about that.
have
Oh,
kids.
well,
I'm sure they have.
I think in Bangkok, parents want their children to be safe by not allowing them to cycle. Right?
Yep. They need a school bus or either like private car.
Yeah,
to
to
send
send
their
them to
kids.
school.
Mhm.
Yeah. As long as the infrastructure is not ready for their kids to ride a bike to school.
Regarding the enforcement, there is one spot that when we try to install our bike rack, any wheel went before us, and we came the next day with our parking rack, and I ran into a food vendor, and she said, "Oh, I know that this sidewalk belongs to the public, but I've been doing my business here for years. And yesterday the green bikes came, and now you with this shiny parking rack thing, and I'm not gonna give up my trading space." And I could not argue with her. I just look for some other space. and since our prototype parking rack wasn't permanently fixed to the ground, some of them were moved away by the vendors.
I think possibly one difference between the Netherlands and Bangkok is that you have a very vibrant informal economy in the city, and it's one of the glories of this city. The street food, Michelin star street food. So I would say that I think that perhaps as a principle going forward, absolutely no space should be taken away from informal traders to give to cyclists. It should be the car drivers in the city have a lot of space, and they don't pay very much for it. Whereas the space that is on the sidewalk for vendors is so intensively and creatively used, and it's generating jobs and trade, and also I think it's one of the reasons people come from across the whole world to come to this city for that. So I think absolutely, if space is going to be reallocated, it should not be the people who have very little fighting each other, the cyclists and the pedestrians and the informal traders. Let that not happen at all, and rather, if there's new cycling infrastructure, new cycling parking, then take away a car parking space so that 10 people can park bikes there instead of one person parking a car there.
Very inspiring.
Right.
Yeah.
It happened already in the past. The policy from the last BMA จัดระเบียบทางเท้า no? The pedestrian improvement. They want the pedestrian to be nice and clean with no street vendors at all. But the vendors came back naturally because they need to do their business, and the people around there need food, need cheap food, so they come back. So that's a good point that we should balance. This is true.
I have an example of this kind of case in the area that I was working on. as I told you, like there were street food vendors on the footpath, so we extend the shoulder lane to be wider for pedestrians to walk on. The things turn out that all those vendors, they also expand their shops to
They put tables and chairs
Right.
that you can like eat on.
So I was wondering, like, if I take away more of the carriageway to be even narrower and to expand for space for people to walk on, would they, you know, also expand their shops even further? Right.
That's possible.
Yeah,
Highly
that's
possible.
Yeah. So, but the thing is, I'm very curious. Like, why they don't put on the street instead on the carriageway instead? Like, why don't they just move their shops onto the driving lane so people can walk on the footpath?
Because then maybe there will be enforcement. I don't know how it is, but
Yeah, right. So why the enforcer can enforce the space for carriageway, but not on the sidewalk or even on the parking, right?
Yeah, good question. But I really can't answer that.
No one really can answer about this.
no, it's a very
Keep it
difficult
in
question.
mind. Okay, right. Well, but I really want you guys to involve with our conversation, so we will open for the Q&A later, sooner. If anyone has a question, you can raise your hands. Yeah, or write down some note. Oh, we have the people who are ready. How about we give some space for the Q&A and then the last question for the conclusion in a few minutes. And could you please introduce yourself a bit and ask the question?
Hi. Good morning. My name is Crid. I ride bike to work almost every day every day actually, until I stop working every time. Anyway, let's get into the question. I had a chance to be in Paris last fall, and that was after 4 or 5 years that I haven't been there. And I found that Paris has become a bikeable city, has become a bicycle city. So my question is, what is the main and single most important reason why Paris become a bikeable city? I know you mentioned and touched a little bit on Paris, but I find that it's very interesting. And I think, to me, if I, study and learn from the clip and all that, I think it's about authority. And I want to hear your view on that one. Because I think Bangkok is based on, the whole thing is about authority and leadership,
I think, Marco, we were together in Paris that time. Well, I hope that you'll compliment or maybe differ from my answer. I think that the mayor, Anne Hidalgo, in Paris, it obviously takes a huge team, but I think that that is an example of one person looking at the city very honestly, a city that she loves, but also I think she said in many speeches that the political system in Paris over generations had made it just basically impossible to deliver cycling infrastructure, whereas it delivered car infrastructure all the time because no one ever had to have a referendum to decide whether there should be new car infrastructure. There never had to be public approval for new car infrastructure, but all those things had to happen for new cycling infrastructure. So you couldn't have cycling infrastructure unless everybody agreed. And for car infrastructure, no one ever asked. So I think when she realized that this was the city that she lived in, and that she wanted to achieve something within 5 years, which in French city planning is a very short space of time, she said, well, I'm just going to do it, and then later on, I'll apologize. She started, I think much of the infrastructure that she started was, if not technically illegal at the time, it was certainly open to challenge, and they did challenge her. But she decided to deliver the infrastructure while fighting it in the courts, instead of years of court cases, and then maybe we deliver one piece of infrastructure. And it was a big risk, it was a gamble, but that is the kind of visionary leadership that can break through a situation that had lasted for decades up to that point. And she has achieved the success very rapidly. It's been approved by the people in referenda, but they had to see it first. There is so much power in an image, in a real image that people can see in their lives. Now, groups of parents at the schools in the city that do not have traffic calming around the schools are beginning to demand it, and even beginning to close down streets if they don't get it. This was exactly the group who 5 years earlier were fighting to not lose the ability to drop off their children by car. So, huge social change, and like most social change in the built environment, the second it's done, everybody forgets that it ever looked different. I don't know. Sorry, I really love this subject.
With your passion, I can tell. Yeah, that's impressive.
My answer was exactly the same. And I think that's comparable to the situation that you have here. You also have a strong leader who is in favor of cycling and who is promoting it and doing it himself. So I would say learn from Paris and apply that here as well.
Okay. Hold on. With the live, maybe we need the voice.
I agree with Margot, and thank you, Brett. But I do want to share that Kun Sanon have done great job and all that. But he's not the number one. We need from number one like the mayor of Paris. You know, I think she did it, and she go ahead and did it, and then everybody turned out to work. I think Thailand, Thai people is that kind of thing. They need an authority, and the leader started, and then everything will follow in that path. You know, I mean, I always believe in one thing, and I will never leave. If Bangkok can become a bikeable city, you need to do it on the strategy of lead by example.
But I think the governor cycles here as well, right? Last time in November
really?
when we did the bike ride
Because
with
he was here and he did it. I mean, I'm not taking the credit out of him. Of course, he's done great things in the city as far as environmental, as far as sustainable, as far as making things, you know, better for the people. But he needs to bike more.
Okay. We will invite him next time.
No, it's as simple as that. You invite him, he'll come, right? But then you go on and jogging again. I'm not against jogging either. You know, it's good for him. But if Bangkok's going to become a bikeable, he needs to bike.
Right.
Normally, every day. No, well, not every day. It doesn't have to be every. I mean, daily life. You know?
Okay. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Brenda, originally from Kuala Lumpur, Malaysia, but I've been in Bangkok for 22 years. My point has to do with safety of the cyclists. Before anyone can get in a car and drive on the road, we need to go through driving lessons, pass a test, and get a license before getting on the road. Now, it's very noble to encourage cycling, but just buy a bicycle and get on the main road. Another thing has to do with the safety of the cyclists. No rear view mirrors, no indicators, the kind of clothing. Very often I drive, I walk, I use the local 8 bus, non-aircon bus, non-aircon bus. But when driving, I'm very wary when I have cyclists in front of me, especially at night, wearing black clothing, no reflector in the back. So my point has to do with the safety and the transition, riding in one's neighborhood to getting on the main road.
Good point. We need well-educated cyclists too. So do you want to add on this topic?
Lots of things to say. First of all, education. In the Netherlands, we do get cycling lessons in our preliminary school. so when you're 11, you have to take a written test, and also we cycle around our village or our neighborhood, and then we are judged on our abilities to cycle and show where we're going. If we're going to the left or to the right, we look over our shoulder if there is someone coming from behind us. So I agree, it is good to have cycling lessons, but it's also good to educate our drivers that there are cyclists on the road, and that's equally important. So also when we have driver's license lessons, you should also focus on them, giving them the knowledge to watch out for cyclists. So I think there's a lot of individual responsibility to be safe on the road, but there's also a huge collective responsibility. As I said, we should always first think about pedestrians, then cyclists, and then car drivers. There's a collective responsibility to keep the most vulnerable road users safe. So that's also for the car drivers, that they need to take this into consideration.
Yeah, I just wanted to add on the visibility part of your question, the high fee vest. So I lived in Ireland for a year, and in Ireland the same issues came up, and you see a lot of people in lycra shirts, which are highly visible shirts. I've never seen a car driving around in bubble wrap. That's my response to that. Because basically the car you're driving is a deadly weapon for pedestrians and cyclists. So I do appreciate the fact, I need to be visible as well, but to a certain extent. Like, I need to have lights that work on my bike, like on your car. You need to have lights that work. But yeah, at a certain point, you get to a stage where it's about what Margot is saying, collective responsibility of keeping everybody safe.
I think there are a number. I think I would perhaps ask, in Bangkok, it's important that drivers be educated about what cycling is and how cycling can look on the road, and because they have the responsibility, because they pose the threat. Cyclists don't pose a threat, nor do pedestrians. And that is a very, very simple difference, which I think has to be at the heart of how we make decisions as a society about this. I would ask that I'm reminded of going to Addis Ababa and seeing a beautiful thing, a traffic park where there were buses and cyclists were being taught or learning how to engage with buses and public transport. But when I asked the city, are bus drivers ever trained on how to drive around cyclists, or how, and they said, well, no, not yet. But then I think they realized, from that discussion, I think they now see the value of that. Sometimes very harmless things can be quite disconcerting to a cyclist. I know when I was a cyclist in Cape Town, my friends would think that it was friendly to hoot at me in their cars if they were passing. And as a cyclist, that hooting so close by to me meant maybe that somebody was trying to warn me of danger instead of just a friendly hello. That's a small difference, but I think we can do a lot more. It's wonderful to train, especially children.
Right.
Cycling is a wonderful way to train children about many things, but also how to use roads. But we cannot pretend that the risk of harm here is remotely similar, and that's an important principle. If we keep that principle in mind, I think then we can make good decisions.
Thank you. And to P5, where do you think for the beginners to learn how to cycle in the big city like Bangkok? I've learned the hand sign language from Pipe, right? We need to know some sign to tell the car. Do we have any chance to open a class, or how to learn? Learning by biking?
Okay, I learned a lot from my friends who started cycling before me, and with I started by going with a group ride and like each of the members share what they know. But for a more formal education, I think Picho and Pifai is doing something with some schools, right?
We are actually have a group of people who are working on the educations. We insert in the teach the skill of riding bicycle to inside the road safety area, and we work on BMA school first. Right now there are 4 schools that we are working on. So we planning to expand this short course to any other school all around Bangkok also. So it's getting there. We will start doing it little by little.
No, it's great to hear. Okay, thank you. Let's move to the next question here.
Okay, I have 2 questions. One, I believe in Thailand, probably one of the major ways that we can push the cycling agenda is just by making clear the positive economic impacts of cycling. So I am wondering, is there a go-to place where I can look it up? Any papers, any academics who have documented this somewhere? I saw a bunch of slides earlier about that. I took photos. But is there more where that came from? I think that's question number 1.
Yes.
Good thing.
On the website of the Dutch Cycling Embassy, you can find all these pictures that Teun showed, and even more. It's called the Dutch Cycling Vision. Also, we have a leaflet online, which is called Bikeonomics, so bike and economics. It is translated in a lot of different languages, but not in Thai yet. So if one of you wants to translate it into Thai, I will make sure it will get into the design. And you can share that with BMA or with other government agencies to show that there is a lot of money that can be earned through cycling. So just let me know. I will share the documents with you, and then we'll together translate this.
Okay, thank you. Number 2, I was having lunch with a lady friend the other day, and I was talking about all the wonders of cycling, and she said that I'll arrive. I was thinking, I said shower, but she said my hair, my clothes, my makeup. What? How do I deal with that? What is the answer?
Well, I'll invite her to cycle with me, and then we go in high heels and with our hairs done and makeup on and in a dress.
Is that still possible?
Of course.
You won't melt in Bangkok?
No.
I mean, someone said that we're lucky it's under 30, but I'm saying it's lucky we're under 40 degrees Celsius. Right?
It's coming.
I do understand the weather conditions here are very different than what it is in the Netherlands. I don't want to marginalize that, but at the same time, I also want to say there are always excuses why not to cycle. There are always excuses why we cannot have any bike parking somewhere, or why there's no bike lane. If we keep on focusing on all the reason why it's not possible to do something, then of course it will never happen. If we focus on the things like being creative and putting the bike parking somewhere else, I think that's a positive solution, and then we can get to results. But if we always say like, oh no, I need to wear a dress so I cannot bike or I cannot walk, of course you can. In the Netherlands, sometimes when I'm wearing a long dress, I just make a knot in it, or I have a clip. Yeah, there are solutions, and then it becomes easier. So I would say focus on the positive instead of always on why something is not possible.
Okay. How to deal with makeup? No, sorry.
Yeah, it feels a bit weird to be answering a question that is meant for the lady, but I'm still gonna do it and maybe flip it around a little bit. So I like Teun. I have a race bike. I sometimes use my race bike to get to work. And my race bike is also not meant for use with, for instance, a suit. I don't have a nice suit like Teun, but so my company provides me with a place where I can shower, but also keep clothes for the next day. And my company even provides me with hair gel in the office. So yeah, Dutch essentials. I don't use hair gel, but other people do. So you can properly turn up to work. So it's just a small locker where you can keep personal things. It's an easy solution. Sorry, Margot, but something that could work. I think.
I don't know any Thai company with the cycling scheme for the employees. Who knows? Any company?
Yeah,
Any
probably
good
no
example?
one. Peter might have an answer for that.
Maybe I would love to hear. Yeah, it would be a good initiative. But okay, Brett, you can continue with this too.
I think also e-bikes can make a great difference there. With an e-bike, you can choose on a day when you don't need the support of the motor. But perhaps if it's a very hot day, you might then choose to turn on this motor pedal assistance, and then you would be doing a little bit less work, but also having a breeze, a lovely breeze, which sometimes people don't realize because they would be standing still outside, and that is hot. But moving through the air, especially I would also say, I showed in my presentation during the workshop a thermal imaging, a photo from a satellite photo of Chicago, showing how much heat was, that the city's streets were much hotter. And this was after sunlight had ended for the day. It's that the cars in the city are themselves they're an enormous source of heat. And it might be that in the future, if there were to be there were some streets in Bangkok, just a network of streets where there were no cars or no combustion engine cars, I think you'd find that those, and trees, and all of the wonderful things that there would then be space for, it might be that there could be a cool network or a cool air network of streets that are already now, we can see that these streets can be 10 degrees Celsius cooler than neighboring streets in a grid, just because you're removing the additional injected heat. So that and the e-bike, I think it's important not to minimize the heat in the city. Heat and cold are quite different problems. Easier to protect yourself from cold, I think. But anyway, when we think of how many solutions there are and combine just 2 or 3 of them, then there's already, I think we've already unlocked a huge capacity in the city.
True. Okay, thank you very much. Thank you for your questions. Okay, do you have one hand left? Anybody wants to ask more questions because we are running out of time? Okay, I will give you the last question. Thank you very much.
Good morning. My name is Tutipong from Department of Rural Road. I'm in the Bureau of Planning, and we are currently working on planning on the road network in the whole countries for like the reclassification of the whole road network, so that we have 5 classes. So the first and second classes are for the national highways, and we have the third class for the rural road network, which is the network which has lower speed, but not the lowest, because class 4 and 5 will be local road, which has a lower speed. So my question is, we have the role of the roads that we are reclassifying as link level 3, and we have the network that has quite low speed, and we look for the opportunity to make this kind of road become bike friendly, but we think that it is crucial that this network needs to connect to places where bikes are used. So we have the roads all over the country, but we need ideas from you guys that are experienced in the Netherlands, that have maybe extensive bike network, and how to plan them to create these road network become bike friendly. Thank you. You all three can join, can answer this.
So the question is about creating a whole network throughout the country, so not only in urban areas, right? So we have a lot of cycling highways in the Netherlands. We're not supposed to call them that anymore. It's now smooth cycle lane or a true route or an interurban cycle path, I don't know. I'll just call them cycle highways because it's easier. Those connect cities, and a lot of people who commute to another city use those. And it is to replace the car with usually an e-bike or a speed pedelec that can even go to 40 kilometers an hour. That's become a huge network. We're still developing that a lot, but it does offer a lot of opportunities. And an interesting part of that is that it's usually not located right next to the highways for cars. Usually there's like a buffer zone of 20 or 30 meters, so that you have the highway, then you have some greenery, and then you have the cycle highway. This makes the cycle highway more attractive because you have less disturbance from the noise and the cars and the smell. Also, it makes the cyclists feel safer because if there's a car that's causing an accident or something happens, because things happen, human mistakes happen, then you will not be driven off the bike lane because there's a buffer zone of 20, 30 meters. I can share some more information about that and a map of the Netherlands where we have all these cycle highways located. I think it's a really cool concept.
Yeah, I guess the only thing I'd just like to say is that I'd love to help.
This is how bike the talk.
So if by any chance you want to share the plan, I'd love to have a look and share my thoughts on it, if you like, of course. Same for you.
Same for you.
I would just add that sometimes we can forget that when there's nowhere off the road to walk or cycle in rural areas, then in many ways we are asking the children in rural areas to have no freedom of movement except when their parents take them somewhere in a car. Even if their parents would be very happy with them walking, there's no safe space to walk off the road, and in rural areas there are often not an alternative road, especially to a sort of a connecting road in an area. And I think one of the incredible things about the Netherlands is that in many ways it's just back to the future. It's when my parents saw how people live there, they said, oh, but this is just the 1970s, in that children have a freedom which in the rest of the world very, very quickly just vanished when the number of cars hugely increased, but the number of roads did not. So in the Netherlands, children use the cycle network to have freedom of movement also in rural areas and to get out of the city and to enjoy themselves by themselves. And it's a very important part of their development. But in a lot of the world now, parents have to give up their time to drive their children somewhere. No one's really happy with that situation, you know. And then older people, the Netherlands is an aging society, but most societies in the world now are on that path. And there are people who, in rural areas as well, will get to a point in life where they don't want to drive anymore, or where it's not really safe for them to be driving. And what choice will they have then to have a rich life and participate in society? So I think if that's the case in 30 years, then we need to start today, that people also in rural areas systematically, that connecting roads have a path exactly as Marco described, off the road, where everything else can happen that isn't a car. You know.
Okay, that's so
Probably
cool.
one last question from the audience.
Oh,
maybe.
we have one more. Okay, quick question. Okay, ปุณเชิญค่ะ And you have been in the workshops. Can you please introduce yourself too?
Not actually questions. I just want to add on top of the response to the rural work department. There were I'm do it in English first, and I'll talk to you later in Thai. There were discussions among the community, and I saw one of your slide during the presentations, how the roads cut over the original roads, like the smaller the community roads where it's connect. So in this case, in Bangkok, like Ratchapruk and Kalapapruk, where this is, I believe it's a rural road network. And there were discussions where these roads cut down the original path where the community used maybe a walkway along the canal and something like that. So I want to add a discussion where maybe this could be the consideration for the future plans, where you add like a tunnel sections to accommodate the original ways of the communities still connected and still conjoin that kind of passive commuting way on underneath, or maybe underneath is better, or across the new road that is proposed. So that's provide a safer, calmer traffic for people who walk by, people who cycling by, and like the new road can still do the jobs of expanding the growth of the country still. Yep, and that's my response.
Thank you very much. Okay, now to conclude our panel discussion, I just want one quick sentence from everyone, because as a topic today, Bike the Talk, we don't want to talk only, do nothing, right? Okay, what is your expectation to see the progress of the workshop and out of the seminar today when you come back to visit Bangkok next time? Can be your own opinion.
I would say safety is in numbers. When more people are cycling, it will also become safer for all the cyclists because you're more visible. People see that you're faster and happier than when you're driving a car. So more people on bikes, then safer environment.
Okay.
I guess I have a wish for the next time I come back, and my wish would be that the speed limit in Bangkok is not 80 kilometers per hour anymore, but 50 or 30.
80. Really? Who drive through 80 kilometers? Wow. How can we live in this Bangkok until now? Brett?
I would like to see an alliance between parents, current cyclists, and all of these groups of people who start to realize what this can give to them, what cycling can mean for them, and start to ask for change, so that there can be change inside the BMA and the government and the professional community, but also real change, I think, must come from the public, demanding and demanding and demanding until they get it.
Okay, so and for you, in a near future, few months later, what do you want to see, Vivi?
I think after learning from you guys, next year I will propose something bigger for the next Bangkok Design Week.
Oh, sure.
Thank you.
For me,
Sure.
I don't see it, but I think I see it myself that I have a lot of things to work on. A lot. That which I could clone myself into too, and help me work on that too. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Thank you once again. I want to pay gratitude to all the panelists. We got a very positive and constructive feedback from you after all the 3 days of your workshop as well. And I hope you have a more relaxed time to enjoy cycling a bit more in Bangkok before you leave. Okay. And so on behalf of the Embassy of the Netherlands in Thailand, special thanks to our distinguished speakers, including you, Chun. Thank you very much. And everyone who cycle here and who played a key role in making this event success. So the embassy will cautiously examine all the ideas and suggestions that emerged today to work further. The link that you guys have mentioned and also the record of this event will be posted on the Facebook once again and will send to your email when you register with us. So you have a QR code of this data. And you will post on the screen after this? Okay, thank you very much. I think we still have time after this, during the noon time, if you want to discuss more with our speakers. So please stay tuned for the embassy's next Orange Green Day. So this event, we will not only continue but strengthen our collaboration together. And now I have to say thank you everyone and hope to see you again soon. ขอบคุณค่ะ Thank you ขอบคุณค่ะ